साइंटिस्ट से एक रिक्वेस्ट करना चाहता हूँ, रेजिन एक सबसे बड़ा पार्ट है हमारी इंडस्ट्री का, जो हमारा फॉर्मल्डिहाइड और ये यूरिया और या फिनॉल से है। क्या इसका सब्स्टिट्यूट नहीं है हमारे पास यूरिया का? अगर आप
अभी उनका टॉपिक है, अभी प्रेजेंटेशन उनका है और आप उस प्रेजेंटेशन को ध्यान से सुनिए। सबसे रिक्वेस्ट है, बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट प्रेजेंटेशन है जो उन्होंने तैयार किया है।
एक मेरा भी एक इप्रीति को एक फीडबैक है कि एज अ इंडस्ट्री जो 15 साल 16 साल से हम बिजनेस कर रहे हैं पंकज जी और हम, लेकिन इप्रीति को हम ये अगर मैं दूर से देख के कहता हूँ मेरी नज़रों में इप्रीति क्या है और हमारे जैसों की नज़रों में कि वो एक फॉरेस्ट की गवर्नमेंट फंडेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है जो सेमिनार कंडक्ट करती है क्योंकि उसको करना है, दिखाना है कि
नहीं, मैं एग्री नहीं करता अमित जी, एग्री नहीं करता,
बट हम लोगों ने उतना फायदा नहीं लिया कभी भी।
This is more interesting. So workers at the site think that they know the best. Of course, workers at the site working for so many years, they may think they know the best, right? However, someone is asking that they are even influencing the client. How should I manage such a situation? I don't know how many of you relate to this, but yes, it's a very interesting one. Any one of you take it, please.
I think from what they've understood, it's a fact. Workers do know the best. From design school, I literally started at ground zero. It's extremely different what you learn academically, and it's extremely different what's actually the ground reality of constructing and learning with the contractors. I think a lot of the youngsters need to understand that we don't know it all. We don't know it all at our level. I'm sure all of us at our level are constantly learning, growing, trying out different stuff, experimenting, and that's the beauty of what we all do. And I think that's one of the things we love. No, I genuinely believe that, I think it's this generation that wants it all, knows it all. It's great to want it all, but you cannot know it all. It's not possible. You've got to learn on the job, and that's something that only comes with experience. Okay. And I'm not being diplomatic.
Supriya?
Would like to add something? No, I mean, and the work we do is so different, and it's very different. It's not craft like where it's a lot of interior design work. It's very large scale architecture work. So for us, something out to that extent is actually not even possible. A lot of our projects, if it looks like the render with the kind of skill sets there is available around, that's good enough, right? I mean, it's actually that scale. So I really don't have anything to add to this point, but I completely agree. We learn every day, and I think you have to learn from everyone around you. So.
But I also think, like, just to add to what you said, Shabnam, you have to inspire confidence in your builders so you work together as a team, because we're educating them, they're educating us. So it's so important that you're on the same team. It's not us versus them, right?
So, okay, any other point that you'd like to add, Holika? No? It's fine. So, the next question is, a client came with a design from a very well-known designer. The next question is, a client came with designs from a very well-known designer, and they want us to design and execute the same at some 1/4 the cost. The cost is one factor, but if we encourage this practice, will this not be detrimental to the entire fraternity? I want to know about your experiences. Mentors, someone is asking for your experiences. Also share your experiences in this. Did you ever face something like this, client coming up with someone's designs and saying, okay, build on this, and add this these are my opinions, and you put this and build this, and so what's your opinion? What are your experiences?
Okay, so for us, we believe in evidence-based design. So our briefing process is rock solid, right? So we have a psychologist in-house. We spend a lot of time understanding the client's user needs and their psychology. So when they come to me and say, hey, I saw this cool image on Pinterest, I'm like, great image. Does it align with your values for this project? Does it align with the way you live? And very soon I can talk them out of it, right? I really think we need to stop this Pinterest culture. I'm not saying that every day we have to try something new. No, that's impossible. Everything's been done, you know, and I think there's a fantastic book by Austin Kleon that says, "Steal like an artist." Big fan. But there's a huge difference between plagiarizing and being inspired. And I think that's what students and young architects need to understand. Don't directly copy, take the elements, dissect what's good about that image. What is the client like? Is it the natural light? Is it the greenery? Dissect those elements and implement it in your design.
Yeah, Pallavi hit the nail on the head, actually. And I'm so glad you brought this point about you have an in-house psychologist, which actually is a great idea, because I say I am 60% psychologist and 40% architect at this point. Exactly. No, but Pallavi got it absolutely right. Firstly, but I do, since I'm assuming these questions are coming from younger people, so both things happen. Clients walk in with designs. You can't always say no. I think a lot of us sitting up here are privileged because we've managed to establish our brands and they are known. So we are in a position to turn away a project, but not everyone is. But other things also happen. When I was much younger, I worked, under my own company, I did work for another architect who then plagiarized and called it his own work. So, you know, you kind of had to swim this one out and be smart, like what Pallavi said.
Right. Yes. No. Okay. So now I'm coming to another very, very important topic, and that is client communication. Client communication is something like, you know, we have received so many questions related to it. Definitely we cannot bring in all the questions here, all the advices that they need, but then yes, we have some of them here. Someone is saying, I love my work, but I do not like communication with clients. I know for a successful firm, I need to do the communication well and not just depend on the team. Please share some tips to help designers like me to get over the fear of client communication. I think a very young designer or an aspiring one has written this. So please share your opinion. I'm sure you're going to help a lot of young ones in this.
Should I go ahead? Yeah. I think one of the first things that we encourage young architects in our office is to tell a story. And I think if you believe in the story of your design and you're able to communicate it really, really well, just the story doesn't matter, the language doesn't matter, whether you have drawings, but just the fact that you believe in this process, this is your story, I think you will communicate to the client. But this is very important. I think storytelling for all of us is very important. I think Shabnam, you can add a little bit more here.
I think our profession, architects and interior design, is a lot like artists. It's a blank canvas. The only difference is a lot of artists paint for themselves. Here, you're actually trying to convince a client of what vision you have for their project with their money, with nothing in front of you. It's all in your head. So I think communication is extremely key. Psychology is extremely key to our process, and you can't get away saying that I'll use tools and renders and I'll use software to communicate. It'll never work. You do need to get into the head of the client. You do need to be able to communicate and convince the client of what you're convinced with. So I think that's something you can't outrun. You need to work on it. You need to believe in yourself, and only if you believe in yourself, the client sees your vision through.
I just want to recommend two books. One is Crucial Conversations, great book around communication and getting out of, I use it with my kids all the time. So important. And the second book is The Culture Map, because you have to also be mindful. It's very different communicating with an so understand their cultural biases and their cultural anchors. So please read those two books.
Koelika, would you like to add anything to this? Okay, so believe in yourself, then read all the books that the mentors suggested, knowing the culture and also having a story to tell. When you believe in something, and you will find the words to tell the world your story. This is what I believe, and the mentors have said it right. So moving on to the next. Someone is asking on the same subject, where and how to draw a line when a client is overpowering in terms of how design should be done. So sometimes, when you meet a client, they are filled up with so much of ideas that they want to share all their ideas, and sometimes they want it in their particular way. So someone wants to know how to, the advice to how to draw a line when a client is overpowering in terms of designing.
No, you go for it.
You say. You have 2 kids ready to share your own experiences as well.
Wow, that's tricky because one of the important things is actually to understand who your client is. And there's a very thin line between trying to convince them and offending them, or bullying them, yeah. And, but I think what clients, your first couple of meetings actually define your relationship with your client, very frankly. And in my first meeting, I'm actually very clear whether I get the client or I don't, and I'm very straight up about it, that you are here to share your ideas, and I'm here to delete half of them and bring forward what I think will make a beautiful house after various conversations with them. I'm being very diplomatic and not really answering the question, but you kind of have to just find your way to tell them that this is not working. And you have to stand your ground and repeatedly do it, because remember, we are all as good as our last project. That is what the world will remember us for. So every project takes in hours and hours of not just work, but also emotions and love and a lot of thought. And I think we need to love ourselves enough to do the justice to be able to tell a client this is rubbish, for example.
I also think, like, building on what you just said, reframing what the client wants. So number one, please listen to your client, because sometimes some architects are so egotistical that they will just be like, no, my way or the highway, this is my signature style. So sometimes people just want to be heard, so just listen to your client. And the second thing is, whenever they give me a ridiculous idea, I reframe that idea back to them, right? So I'll be like, remember this amazing briefing document, that Bible, that, Holy Grail? Let's go back to that. Does that connect with what you're talking about right now? That's why I'm such a huge fan of evidence-based design. Anything subjective, I like yellow, I like pink, great, that's subjective. When it's objective, evidence-based, there's very little room for I'm right, you're wrong, it's just science.
Pallavi, can you mentor me? Yeah. Actually, can you mentor my whole office?
Listen, you talked about like never-ending learning. I'm currently doing my MBA. I think we all just have to keep learning. We all need mentors. You can mentor me, I'll mentor you back.
Hello. Yeah. A large part of our work at the beginning, like you said, is coming to a single vision for the project, right? And most often our projects don't have a single client. It's an institution, it's a trust, it's the government organization. And I think a lot of it is about consensus building, right? At the beginning, set up, spend enough time with your clients, spend enough time understanding them, spend enough time coming to a common vision for the project with all stakeholders. And once you set that up, there's very rarely somebody can just push through one idea, right? Because there are so many stakeholders that you have to take care of. So I think that consensus building also needs to be a huge part of the process of design as well.
Yeah, I think we're all saying the same thing, and the tighter your design vision is laid out from the beginning, there's very little scope for really, a decision here and there. You need to choose your battles, very honestly. You need to see what's a deal breaker. But I think what's very key is that if you feel the client and you are not aligned, don't take that project. I think you need to be able to be clear enough to say this is going to be a very painful journey together. We are never going to see eye to eye, however clear my vision is, as versus saying, I want to work with only certain kind of people who get my work and I'm ready to tweak that here and there and make them see my side. So I think if you have that clarity, it's actually a joyride.
Wonderful.
But just on what Shabnam said, I want to add, you know, Shabnam and I are of a similar age, and we've gone through the struggles of working with clients where it hasn't worked, and then being able to identify the clients that work for us and the clients that don't work for us. And because a lot of these questions are to the new gen, I think they have to be sensible about identifying that, because I also find that generation is very quick to just say, no, I'm not doing this. It is going to give me anxiety, for example.
So beautifully said, and I hope, the audio is working, right? So beautifully said, and when different perspectives come, their learning happens, right? So moving on to the next, and it is about team building. We all know for startups, building a team is really, really so important, while at the same time it's comes with a lot of struggles at times. So someone is asking that I'm struggling in creating a good team. What are the factors for selecting team members for a startup design firm? Well, this seems to be a little vague, but yes, if you'd like to answer anything on team building.
I know when I started up 9 years ago, I was an unknown. Nobody wanted to work with me. They're like, oh, why would we work with her, right? So it was very difficult to attract talent. So I had to make do with what I got, right? And it was my force of nature, my design creativity, whatever that drove the process. I'm in a much better position now where we're an aspirational brand and people want to work with us. But it's really important to have that same outlook, that empathy-driven leadership outlook, because the more you give to people, the more they give you back. So we have flexible working hours, we have work from home on Fridays, all sorts of nonsense. We take them bowling once in a while. I don't know why. So apparently architects like doing stuff like this. So, you know, we do all that nice stuff, pizza Thursdays, whatever. I think it's a little bit bullshit, but actually it works. The team really loves it. So I'm like, I'm going with this. I'd rather they be working, you know.
I'm coming
months.
bowling with you.
Come. It's not that engaging. But my point is that it has to be empathy driven, and it's a two-way process. So sometimes I go back to them and I say, listen, I'm being really nice here. Can you work on Sunday? You know, so yeah, it's a two-way process. I just want to say that.
So what are your experiences?
Well, like Pallavi said, they have to believe in why you're doing what you're doing. So I think the strong company philosophy is something that they need to believe in, and that doesn't come very easily. But I think if I'm through any interview process, one of the things that I look for is just we want to hire people who are nice and who have the right attitude. Skill sets we can impart, but I think if you just come with the right attitude and say, hey, I'm here to learn and I'm going to try and, you know, be as good as I can, I think that's the first key thing. I also think the people who are, I always ask them that, do you have any hobbies or passions that they, you know, should not get hampered because you're working with us, and continue to maintain that, because that's something that they again bring to the design. If they're doing something that they really enjoy outside of work. So other than that, I think, you know, skill sets we can give, but I think we just want to hire nice, you know, kind people who are willing to
intelligent.
work. Yes, yeah.
Okay, so here it's so interesting, this thing is so interesting, so I would like to share one of my experiences. When I was in Delhi and I was new and nobody knew me and I wanted a team, at the time how I did it was I shared my dream with people. I used to share my dream with people because I had nothing, literally nothing. I came all alone with a bag and I had nobody out here in Delhi, nobody literally. So how I started was, you know, I started sharing my dream. I said, see, I have this dream. I don't know whether I'll be able to, but I have these dreams and this is how I want to do it. Do you want to be part of it? See, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. Let me be very frank, but I have this. If you want to be part of it, you are going to learn a lot with me. You know, go through all the thick and thin, and maybe we come out somewhere, or maybe we do not. But that worked, you know, and I got really some good people to come and work with me. So I think, you know, what Pallavi shared, Kohelika, Shabnam, and Supriya, For team building, for in a startup firm, it's always a continuous process. When you know that someone has got some skill or maybe some right attitude, you can put them to get the new skill, or someone is good skill, you can probably work on to also work on the attitude. I've seen both. So coming to the next question, and it is about partners and associate, and it's related to the same, the last question. Someone is asking, how do we ensure good partnership through the thick and thin of working years? We all know that we can't work alone. We need partners. Yes, we need associates, partners and all. But how to work and how to ensure that the partnership is going through the thick and thin and getting stronger? And it's so important for every firm, every company, right? So what are your opinions, suggestions, experiences? Please share.
I think in today's day and age, it's difficult to get through a marriage at times. I mean, here we are talking about assurance and lifelong partnerships. It doesn't come on a platter. I mean, that's for sure. So there is A, no guarantee. B, you need to be extremely fortunate to be able to find the right like-minded people who share the same vision and, the same passion for design the way you do. You might have your own strengths. You obviously need the other person to have strengths where you lack. So it's so many factors. There's no simple, easy answer to that. And then, of course, it's the question of, how you kind of build people within your team with the same ethos, and there has to be some skin in the company. I mean, you want to make money, everybody wants to make money, so that is something which your mindset also needs to change. It's not easy for a lot of us. I didn't come from a business school.
तो मैं समअप करता हूँ अपनी बात को, चाहे वो पीलिंग है, चाहे वो सैंडिंग है, चाहे वो कैलिब्रेटर है, चाहे वो कोर कंपोजर है, चाहे वो फाली कंपोजर है, तो ये सब चीज़ें, चाहे वो प्रेस है, आज प्रेसिस के अंदर भी काफ़ी डेवलपमेंट की रिक्वायरमेंट है. साइमल्टेनियस क्लोजिंग की जो प्रेसिस हैं, जो आज 5 मिनट 6 मिनट जो हैं वो क्लोजिंग के या ओपनिंग के लग जाते हैं बड़ी प्रेसिस के अंदर, यदि वो 2 मिनट के अंदर हो जाए या 1 मिनट के अंदर हो जाए तो उसके अंदर कितनी प्रोडक्टिविटी आपकी बढ़ सकती है. एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आप 2 लोड 3 लोड जो है वो फालतू ले सकते हो. तो इस तरह की जो इनोवेशंस हैं वो मैन्युफैक्चरर को करनी चाहिए, थोड़ा डेयर करना चाहिए. और हम लोग सारे मैन्युफैक्चरर्स जो मशीनरी मैन्युफैक्चरर हैं उनको भी ट्राई करनी चाहिए, और जो मीडिया है उनको भी उनका सपोर्ट भी चाहिए, ताकि हम सब मिल के अपनी इंडियन प्लाईवुड इंडस्ट्रीज़ का वी ट्राई टू चेंज द फेस, ताकि हम एक्सपोर्ट भी करें और हम लोग अपनी इस इंडस्ट्री को काफ़ी हाइट पे लेके जाएं. और लास्ट में एक बार मैं और कहना चाहता हूं कि बहुत सारे लोग हो सकता है मेरे से सहमत ना हो, लेकिन मैंने देखा है जी दुनिया में, चाहे वो यूएस है, यूएस की बड़ी फैक्ट्रीज देखी है मैंने, चाहे यूरोप है, यूरोप के अंदर बहुत सारी फैक्ट्री विजिट की हैं, उनके अंदर स्पेशलाइजेशन बड़ी ज़्यादा है ज़रूरी, वो लोग करते हैं. हमारी इंडस्ट्री में क्या होता है कि एक ही प्रेस के अंदर वो 3mm भी बना रहा है, 6mm भी बना रहा है, 12mm भी बना रहा है, 18mm भी बना रहा है. तो कुछ यदि वो स्पेसिफिक हो जाए, तो वो स्पेसिफिक यदि एक आदमी बना रहा है, फिल्म फेस बना रहा है तो फिल्म फेस बना रहा है जैसे, तो उसके अंदर उसके क्वालिटी के इन्हांसमेंट के चांसेस, उसके अंदर जो लूप होल्स हैं, उसके अंदर आपकी जो मैनेजमेंट है और एक्सपर्टाइज जो है उसके अंदर ज़्यादा हो जाती है. और ये हमारे पास फ्यू एग्जांपल्स हैं, जैसे मैंने कहा मेरे सामने ही बैठे हैं. और एक मैं नाम और लेना चाहूँगा, रिसेंटली मैंने उसकी फैक्ट्री विजिट की है, वो श्री राम प्लाईवुड, संजय त्रेहन जी, राजेश त्रेहन जी, वो भी बड़ा अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं. और उनकी जो क्वालिटी के ऊपर जो उनका कंट्रोल है वो बड़ा ज़बरदस्त है, और जो उनकी हैंडलिंग मैनेजमेंट है वो भी बड़ी ज़बरदस्त है. तो ये सब चीज़ें मैं चाहता हूँ कि सारे इंडस्ट्री वाले अपनी अपनी फैक्ट्री के अंदर देखें, मैक्सिमम ऑटोमेशन में जाएं, लेबर कॉस्ट कम हो. जैसे लेबर कॉस्ट कम होगी वो तब होगी यदि आपका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बढ़ेगा, और बाय डिफ़ॉल्ट आपकी क्वालिटी जो वो अच्छी होगी, और लेबर की स्किल की जो रिक्वायरमेंट है, स्किल्ड लेबर की जो रिक्वायरमेंट है वो ख़त्म हो जाएगी. यदि आप अच्छा प्रोडक्ट लगाएंगे तो स्किल्ड लेबर की जो रिक्वायरमेंट है वो भी खत्म हो जाएगी। तो बस मैं ही चाहता हूं कि हम सब मिलके लेट्स चेंज द फेस ऑफ इंडियन प्लाईवुड इंडस्ट्रीज। थैंक यू।
With Generation Z, they're not going to change. This is how they were raised, everything on the tap of a finger. I'll give you a simple example. Do you remember when we were like 16 and the phone used to ring, and if you didn't get to the phone in time, you didn't know who called? That creates us being okay with uncertainty. Today, if I want to know who died in World War II, blah, 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 I can just go on the phone. So psychologically, they have been influenced. So I think it's really unfair for us to think that they will understand how we were raised. So I feel part of it is that I've changed my mindset. So for these Generation Zs to incentivize them, I say, you know what? You're an owl, come at 12 o'clock. You're a lark, come at 4 o'clock. Because larks and owls are creative at different times. So I think we also have to be a little bit adaptable while dealing with the children.
But Pallavi, that wasn't actually what I was trying to answer. I was trying to answer that a lot of people don't want to learn, because what I'm talking about is that the basis of the education system in this country has fallen so much for architects and designers. I don't know whether you know this, but here you don't actually have to be a qualified architect to build a building.
RIBA?
No.
Oh, okay.
So here and I absolutely, by the way, I can absolutely agree with you, and I believe that, okay, you can take this work home and you're going to do it at 4 in the morning. I just want it on my table at 10 a.m.
100%.
And I completely agree with you on that. The problem is they walk into your office, think they're knowing it all, but which is also fine, because I'm all for confidence, dude. And you know what? We all bullshit a little bit during meetings, let's face it. We've had a drunk night and we've had to walk into a meeting in the morning, and there is a little bit of give and take over there. But the problem is that the skill set they come into even an interview is so poor, and you can't blame them.
So
it's because the educational systems become so poor.
Okay, I'm with you so far. Do you think continued professional development falls in our remit
Yes.
as employers? That's what I believe in as well.
But
'cause-
also we have to, and I do that. I consider myself a teaching practice.
Yeah.
But I also believe you cannot turn a donkey into a horse. A horse has to arrive in your office, and you can train it to win a race.
Okay.
But you
we're
can't
aligned.
convert.
Yeah, we're aligned, 100%.
So, the second last question, I would say, because I know that we are running, on time. So we have many good designers struggling with business management. Do you think it should be mandatory for designers and architects who want to run their own ventures to study business management mandatorily?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Pallavi was just saying she's doing an
I'm
MBA.
doing my MBA at INSEAD. And you know what's really funny? I was acing my financials. And I thought I was terrible at finance. And now I'm like sitting with my CFO and I'm like, no. So I think it's really important. I know, Shabnam, you're self-taught, as was I for the last years. But this has been so validating. I know how to evaluate my company. I know how to have a conversation about IRR. All this kind of nonsense. It's important. And psychology. Please also do a course in psychology.
Okay.
I completely agree.
Okay.
I think amongst all of us, it's about how do you motivate staff, how do you get best out of them, how do you manage finances, how do you bring in clients, how do you retain clients and continue to deliver good design, right? And all of it is about managing. And it's just managing a lot of things, right? And I think if you have to, even if you don't take a course, you have to be very aware that there is one part of running a practice that is management. And if you don't want to do it, get someone to do it for you.
Okay, so this question I want to ask Shabnam. Tell us, Shabnam, this question is from Sneha. She is asking, how do you manage to keep learning and upgrading knowledge for yourself and the team? So starting with Shabnam, and I'd like to extend this to others.
We honestly don't have processes within the studio, but we know one thing, that what you've done at one project does not repeat at another. We know that it's a mandate when we sit as a team, when we get a first project brief from me after I've understood from the client, and we're getting the whole team aligned. I think one of the definite to-dos is it's customized, it's custom made, it's one of a kind for that individual for whom we are designing. And I think when that happens is you kind of are all the time going back to a blank canvas, and you're all the time saying, okay, what can be so unique about this project? Okay, we've not used these materials. We also work with a lot of new vendors, and social media. The good part about social media is that actually it's made the whole design world very small. I love to see what a lot of my colleagues are doing. It's very inspiring when you meet up and you say, I love what you did over there, how did you do this? Or it's also made vendors and newer materials easier to access because of social media, which was not the case earlier. So I think that is definitely one of the tools that as a studio we reach out to, and people reach out to us, and we've actually had great connections thanks to the grammars out there.
Yes, anyone would like to add on this? Like, how do you manage to upgrade yourself time and again?
I think it's so important to invest in yourself at every juncture in your career. I go back to school every 5 years, so this is my second master's. For the team, we have continued professional development programs, so we have lunch and learns every week where they meet vendors and partners. We also sponsor our star performers to go back to school. So that, because I'm an academic, I teach at university, it's so important to keep kind of engaged. We have our psychologist who comes in, does mindfulness sessions, because it's not just about architectural development. As Kohilika said, sometimes I'm a sociologist, sometimes I'm a lawyer, sometimes I'm a marriage counselor. I think you have to be well-rounded on how to deal with clients. So that's kind of what we do as a firm.
So it's a continuous work, says Pallavi. And now we are coming to the end of this session, and it's time for the takeaway, and I'll be taking one or two questions from the audience. So get ready with your questions. Before that, I would like to have a one-liner lesson, the biggest lessons that you have learned in your life and you want at work, and you would like to share in one line. Lesson, an important lesson in life, yeah.
So there's one lesson which is something that I've really imbibed. You've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use it in that proportion. Listen more, speak less. The more you listen and the more you hear your client, you'll comprehend far better.
For me, it's you can do anything, but you can't do everything. I think I said that right.
There's no substitute to hard work. You got to put in the hours.
I think one thing I live by is something I read in a book, and it says, read, travel, and have a mentor. So I think it's a perfect way to end this session.
I just want to add one thing. You know, I a lot of the times during...
मधुसूदन जी से सीखने को क्या मिला? Never forget your origin. If your origin is from farming, always remember your roots and be on the ground. That's what I have always also seen always, and that's what you resonate today. A rapid fire, 3 सवाल धड़ाधड़ पूछूंगा, सबसे उसका रिप्लाई होगा. सबके हाथ में माइक ले लीजिए. पता नहीं क्या पूछूंगा, ये भी नहीं पता है. एक माइक दीजिएगा प्लीज. Can you give a mic please? One more mic you have?
We will share, no worries. The sharing is caring.
केशव जी से सबसे पहला सवाल. Sir, you will choose a distributor with capital or a distributor with lot of hunger, without capital? Hunger. You have to speak louder. I want them to listen.
Hunger. A distributor with hunger.
So I ask the question, will you choose a distributor with capital or will you choose a distributor with hunger to work hard towards the company? He has opted for hunger. I will ask you one question. Will you prefer to have a social cause to a labor workforce or output, productivity? अगर कोई welfare first or production first, quantity first, volume first? दोनों चाहिए लेकिन रैंकिंग कराना है मुझे. Production first. So, हाँ? Production first, welfare उसके साथ ही है. So if you don't have production, welfare will not come. So Sanidhya say, it's welfare that comes secondary. We have to go for production, means we have to increase the business revenue. One more question to you. Will you choose performance, ya performer, or process?
This is a question which I always ask in the interviews that I take.
See, it's my question.
49, right? If it is even if it is a 51-49, I would definitely go for process. The performance will happen if the process is followed. If the performance doesn't happen, the process will be improved for the performance to happen.
So any industrialist, any next generation, he must open his ear. If you are only caring for a performer and disturbing your process, mind it. That is the learning from Madhusudan ji. And Akhilesh, tell me one thing. If there is a turbulent time, will you cut which budget first? It is marketing or it is something else?
ये गलती कर चुके हैं. मार्केटिंग बजट पहले कट किया था, अब वापस नहीं करेंगे.
So
never again.
My rapid fire ends here. I hope you must have taken your seeds from here. अपना अपना फार्मूला अपने केस स्टडी में लगा के सोचिएगा. ऐसा नहीं कि उन्होंने ऐसा बोला था तो थंब रूल है. ये सिर्फ हिंट है. Thank you very much all of you. I just want conclusive, anything conclusive which you want to comment, say. तो इसके बाद we will wrap up the session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I think today's been an amazing learning experience. मेरे तरफ से आप सबको
And all of it adds up in finally the final product I put out there.
So with this, it's time to end this session. I can see a young girl with hands up. Yeah, I just can't say no to, because it's for you actually, Please ask the question. Yeah.
Hi everyone, it's such an insightful session out here. I want to ask you that what as a young designer we should, keep in mind when we are planning to scale our business. Like I've been practicing, it's going to be 3 years now, right? And it has been sort of a one-woman army for me, working with all my co-creators. But yeah, now I really want to scale my business. So what are the tips that you can give me to, keep in mind while doing that? Thank you.
So mentors, she wants to know, how to scale up. She's
So that's
struggling
really
in that.
interesting. I'd been doing this for 8 years and I just recently scaled up. We went from 7 to 30 in like 9 months, okay? And I was too scared to do it for the longest time. And I kept turning down work because I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do this work. I want to do 6 projects, enjoy my food and drink and introvertedness. But one of the big tips I'll give you is hire someone who's really good at business development, because you need project pipeline to scale up, right? Don't just go all out, just hire people left, right, center. Secure your projects and then work backwards from them. Also look at things like outsourcing, right? Look at outsourcing, perhaps, I don't know how it works in India, but we sometimes outsource our CAD work or the visuals, we keep the design in-house and site work or whatever, and that helps you scale up in that mid-section. Focus on business development, focus on PR, social media, Shabnam said, all of these are great avenues for scaling up, but do it slowly. I mean, I'm risk averse, so I did it slowly.
Yeah, you can also collaborate. So one of the things that you can't do yourself, you collaborate with the right partners. And we do it all the time. In spite of being a big firm, we still collaborate in geographies that we don't understand, in cultures we don't understand, even in practice areas that we've never worked before. So even in India, we always collaborate because there's learning from so much. And then once you collaborate, you've got the experience of a project. You're confident, and then you can scale up. So definitely collaborate.
So, Architect Premnath, I can see he's standing and he wants to ask a question. Yes, please.
I don't have a question. Can you hear me? Hi. I don't have a say mention something about that. First time I'm seeing there are more men sitting over here listening to the women. Very nice, great session over there. Wonderful done. I must tell you,
Stop the music, please. I would request all of you to please settle down. We will start with another panel discussion shortly. May I please request everybody to settle down? We will start with another panel discussion shortly. Please don't leave the conference room. Thank you. May I please request all of you to be settled down, please. We'll start with another panel discussion shortly. Thank you. All the people who are standing near the gate, I would request all of you to please be seated. We are starting with the next panel.
So if they are going to come here, we'll have to, this conference room will get busted. So I want to thank all of you for being here, and this was a wonderful session. So much of learning for me from the mentors every time, every year, and I'm proud to say that wadeasia has hosted this for the 7th time, and looking forward to the future. I want to thank each one of you for adding your inputs, and thank you, audience, for being such a lovely audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone, for this wonderful and fruitful session. Now we are moving to the next session, Women in Design Special Projects. First, let's welcome architect Rana Parekh, who will talk about designing for kids, and Ms. Anshuli Patel, who will be sharing about designing a Japanese Zen garden, a landmark project in Gujarat. So we have architect Rana Parekh here. If you please come and join us on the stage. Women in Design Special Projects. Yeah. Sure. Next we have